Well, thank you for doing this interview with me. I love the film. So, my first question is, how did you come up with this story or idea for this film or get involved with it?
Thank you for asking, Daniel. So my background's in designing and writing video games. And when you're trying to design a new game, you're looking for like a single rule that's going to become an engine that makes different types of fun. So just as like pull an example out of Hollywood, like a movie like Nightmare on Elm Street, right? A really interesting rule, which is if you go to sleep, Freddy's going to get you, and it just creates really interesting sequences connected to that idea. So I was working on a game for myself, and I hit on this idea of, hey, what if you win the lottery? But in order to keep the money, anyone who has a losing ticket has a chance to kill you before sundown, and then they take the money. It seemed like a really fun idea for a game, but I thought this would be even more fun as a movie. And my passion in terms of like action is really more like the Jackie Chan end of stuff. Like I love the other stuff that's a bit more gritty and tough, but I've always really enjoyed the circus of action, the fun of action, the joy of action. And that's how we ended up going in this direction.
That's cool. And how much did the script and story change from first writing to what we saw?
Well, good question. So I wrote the first draft of that. I want to say right. It was right at the start of the pandemic. It was when I first wrote it. And in the time, like it takes a long time for movies to come together. So in movie terms, this one actually happened very quickly, which it all came together in a little under 3 years, which is pretty quick. But naturally, in that process, you kind of go through development, and it's about figuring out what your ambition is, and then how much money can you actually afford to spend on this thing. So, for instance, there were bits that we liked, but we knew that we couldn't afford to do for the budget that we were going to have to do it for. So there was a thread in there that, who knows, maybe we put it in the sequel, which sort of explored the idea how in the lottery, if two people have the same numbers, they share the jackpot. So we had this idea, back in the early days, that, oh, what if there's like another winner and they figure out, hey, if they kill Awkwafina, then they're going to double the jackpot. So that's like a different type of villain. So I would say that tonally, it kind of remained the same because we had a pretty clear vision about what that was going to be. But it's about, adding and subtracting elements until you can get something that fits the scale of production that you're able to make.
And do you write stage directions for scripts or not?
Absolutely, I do. It's interesting. There are lots of very different styles of screenwriting, at least in terms of the voice on the page, as they say. I love to write action because I think that if you're writing a script and you kind of end up in a place where you could just say there is a car chase and leave it, then you're kind of there's a problem there, because I think that the thing that makes unique action, going back to that game design thing, is a unique condition that's placed on the world or on the protagonist. So just as an example, if it's like, okay, in this car chase, the character has their hands handcuffed behind their back. You're going to have to create something interesting to figure out how they're going to solve the problem of driving a car when they haven't got their hands available. And so not only is it kind of fun as an audience to say, well, I wonder what they're going to do. In doing that action under a unique condition, you get to explore who the character is, because if this is the type of person who's very skilled, very confident, they might deal with it differently to a person who's like, I've never done this before. Or they have a hang up of, let's say they're afraid of driving, a phobia of driving or whatever. You get to explore who the character is through the conditions you place them in the action. So for me, I love stage direction, love action. I think they're very, very valuable things to get into the document.
I guess it helps because you get more creative input into it. And did you help with the casting process?
I threw a few names in there, but that's really plain. I mean, oftentimes in movies, writers are kind of slightly removed from the process. Paul, however, was very welcoming, very inclusive. But it's also important for me to be respectful of his process, and he needs to figure that stuff out. But having said that, my ideas were not as good as the people that he ended up casting. So I feel like we really won big having him come on board.
And as you are from England, how often were you able to visit the set, or were you there virtually?
I was on set in Atlanta when most of it was shot, for several weeks, but not virtually. I don't, because it's so sort of like, it's so active, people running around the place. For me, I don't think it would function that well. But it's just fun to get there and see, you know, people doing the lines, lots of people are employed. You know, that's the part that really excites me, is seeing, you know, 600 people who get to pay their mortgages. That's what excites me about the set.
Yeah, and everyone coming together as a group. And
Yes, yeah.
were there any deleted scenes you can share that were filmed?
Oh man, I mean, for anybody that knows Paul's movies, I mean, he has a very improvisational style. So there's lots and lots and lots of improvisation that happens. You know, on every joke, there'll be 20 versions of it that they come up with on the day. There'll be 5 versions that are pre-written. Then you've got people throwing in other jokes on top of that on the set. So, I mean, there must be, as you saw at the end of the movie, there's a blooper reel, which is something we think is really fun, and we wish there would more people would do them. There have to be hundreds of deleted jokes that, who knows, may end up in some later version of it.
That's cool. And did the cast get to do their own stunts?
It's kind of a mix. I mean, the number one thing on set is safety, and that sort of has a correlation with the level of experience on the cast. So, of course, John has tons of experience doing very athletic stuff with WWE, whereas for Awkwafina it was slightly newer. But all of them went through stunt training. All of them do parts of their own stunts. I would say probably John maybe does a little bit more of his own. But you know, none of them were like, "Oh, I don't want to do this." Everybody wanted to do as much as they could do.
Yeah. And how was it working with Paul and the cast?
I love Paul. I think the thing that fascinates me about him is that when I knew him just as like a person, before we met, right? You know, his reputation preceded. And of course, everybody knows he's impeccably dressed. And I remember the first time we met, it was like 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. I thought, it was at his office. I thought, there's no way he's going to show up in like a 3-piece suit on a Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock. But he, 100% of the time, he's absolutely committed to visual excellence. And I think it's interesting because he comes, I think, from even though he's comedy, he's very storied, studied in film, obviously. And I think there is something about a director in a suit that just sort of makes everybody sit up and want to do their best, even if you're doing something that's loose and warm as comedy. It gets everybody excited about doing their best. My experience with Paul was very friendly, very inclusive, interested in what other people have to say. I think he has a very clear vision, but is the kind of person who has the creative confidence to say, well, I want to hear what other people's input is, because then he can adjudicate on what he thinks the best idea is, which I think is the way to do it. As for the cast, I mean, Cena, number one, as a piece of trivia, I want to say his hand is about this big. First time I shook his hand, it felt like it was like this big, like the size of a snow shovel. It's huge. Everybody knows he's a very kind guy because of the Make-A-Wish stuff. Everybody knows he's a very physical guy from WWE, but also is a highly, highly, highly intelligent man. He's taught himself Hindi, Mandarin, jazz piano. Like when he's not in front of the camera, he's really committed to improving himself in any way he can. Really an inspiring guy. Awkwafina, I think it's just a really warm, down to earth, I think the way I would describe her is like, this is a person who's very grounded, and I think that comes through in the performance as well. Yes, in the movie, it's a lot of it's big and bright and cartoonish, but she has some quite serious, somber moments of drama. And we're so lucky to have someone with that level of dramatic talent who can do both. So unusual. Simu is just he's like the smoothest guy. He's the smoothest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Again, incredibly talented. Again, what a remarkable athlete. We talk about people doing their own stunts. I mean, Simu really is, from Shang-Chi, of course, and from before, incredibly skilled. Makes it look easy. They all make it look easy.
That's cool. And what do you hope to see happen in the sequel, or would you be interested in doing a cameo?
Would I be interested in doing the cameo? Let me tell you something. I did a cameo in this one. I'm in it for 0.0003 seconds. I'm in a crowd scene at the end, just like in the finale. And I'll take this a little story just for you, which is the costume that I'm wearing in that cameo. And I mean, literally, like, you wouldn't see me unless you were absolutely. We had to look with like a microscope in slow motion to see me. But the costume that I'm wearing is, I have a black eye. I'm wearing a bright neon yellow jumpsuit. I'm wearing sneakers that have 7 teddy bear heads on the toes. And I have a huge sign on my head that says "punch here" that points to the black eye. And let me tell you, as you can imagine, that's quite a striking costume to wear. I was walking around the set dressed as this, getting ready to do my bit. 7 different people on the set came up to me and said, "Oh, wardrobe and makeup are looking for you for your cameo." which means that 7 people thought I came to work dressed in that outfit and then had to therefore go to see wardrobe to change out of it into whatever I was going to wear in the movie. So I don't know what
That's
my
very
reputation is,
strange.
but very strange.
Yeah. Maybe it's because they're in America, so different culture.
I mean, I don't know that there's a culture on Earth that dresses the way I'm dressed in that movie.
Yeah. And how much of the film was a set and how much was real locations?
Oh, well, a lot of it was shot on locations in Atlanta. I want to say, I mean, there were set builds inside real locations. So, for instance, the finale at the end, that's a real theater in Atlanta. But of course, the set on the stage, the big rocket ship and all that stuff, is all built for the movie. Um, I would say most of it is on location, I think, and you have like little touches of CGI just to say, okay, we're going to make the sun read like it's LA, because if it's like a gray day in Atlanta, you want to make it look nice and bright. But the set dressing was so in depth. I remember when I walked on the set of the LPA, which is Simu's like rival agency. All the desks had like coffee cups on them that were all branded for the agency he was supposed to work for. But when I opened the drawer, there were like sheets of paper with like documents for the agency in the drawer. I'm like, how? We're never going to use these. But the length and breadth and commitment to excellence of that set dressing team really was off the charts.
That's cool. And did you get to keep anything from set?
I have one coffee mug that I stole from the set. I thought I can't take any more noticeable than that, and there were like 50 of them, so who's going to miss it?
Yeah.
I drink coffee out of it whenever I'm trying to think of ideas for the sequel. That's what I'm drinking the coffee out of.
And would you be interested in working with Paul or the cast again in the future for other projects or the sequel?
Absolutely. I think the thing that really was so special about this movie is that every single person, I mean, really from top to toe, every person on that set, from nose to tail, were kind, warm people. And that's not always necessarily the case. Sometimes there are difficult people that you have to manage. On this case, it just didn't happen. These were all really lovely people. And it's so rare for that to happen when you're employing so many people to come together. I think it really speaks to Paul's leadership that this is a guy who creates a culture of kindness and joy. So absolutely, yes, more please. I would love to do more.
So speaking of that, and what did you all do between takes or when you weren't filming? Did you all hang out or do anything together?
Well, Cena's off teaching himself Mandarin, but the rest of us, yeah, I mean, most of the time on set, there's lots of downtime, but in that downtime, somebody is always doing something. It's not that everybody stops and then you wait and then you go. It's that some other department is moving something, someone else is figuring something out. So there's always something to be figured out that's in service of the production. Having said that, now the movie's over, like I'm going for brunch with Michael Hitchcock and a lot of the supporting cast in a couple of days, and see if there's any hot gossip that I missed.
And I think it was #1 on Prime, Amazon Prime. So how do you feel about that?
Good is the answer. How I feel about that. Yeah, it's been #1 worldwide on Prime, in both the TV and movie charts, which is, I mean, it's a big deal. It's exciting. Hopefully, we get to do another one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I really hope
I would love
so.
that.
And my 2 final questions before I go is, can you share any other projects you are working on?
I'm working on another project with Netflix. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it yet, but it's why not? It's another action comedy. It's about a guy who has to punch someone in the face every 3 minutes or he'll explode.
That sounds
keep
funny.
an eye out. Keep an eye out. Thank you. I hope so. We're getting there.
Is it filming in England or USA or where?
Oh no, we're still in development on the script, so it'll be a while before we get to filming.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to see that. And my final question is, if you won the lottery and nothing bad would happen to you, what would you buy?
Thank you for the question. I mean, I appreciate the question is a great setup to say something funny, but my instinct immediately is you give half to charity, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing you have to
do.
Half to charity, and then what do I do? Like, you want to do something nice and weird that you wouldn't get to experience as a normal person. So I'm going to say I will buy a small town, populate it with actors, and I will Truman Show myself and create a whole society of people that think I'm cool.
That's cool.
that feels like a good way to spend $250 million, isn't it?
Would you be filmed so everyone could watch you?
No, I think that's just my little private town filled with actors coming out. I'm cool.
And my one last thing, it just popped into my mind. For your costume that you wore in the film, did you get
Yes.
input into it or not? Or the shoes?
Generously, the wardrobe department knew I wanted something ridiculous, so they put that together. I put the makeup together, or the idea for the makeup, but there was makeup, of course, who executed, which was the big sign that said punch here and then the black eye. So that part was my idea, but they did it on me, and then the wardrobe was kind of I just said, give me the weirdest stuff you got.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you for chatting with me. I love the
you.
film, and congratulations on the film. I hope you have a great
so much.
day.
Thank you too, Daniel. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
So why are you here? Are you here for like pleasure or pain or?
No, I'm an actress. Great. They're rebooting Barbie. Hi, I'm Katie. Just got back into town and ready to act.
Did you prepare something?
I have something, yeah.
Katie Kim is our new jackpot winner. Happy hunting, LA.
I definitely didn't get the part, so there's no need for the death stare.
She's my jackpot.
What is happening?
Uber for Katie? Did that look as cool as it felt?
Oh my God. What is going on?
Katie, you won the lottery. And now anyone with a losing ticket that kills you before sundown gets her money. Legally.
Okay, that's murder.
Oh, not in California. It's just a chance at the big time.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, hell yeah.
I need a hero.
I felt that too.
I need you to put this on.
If you kill me, you get it all. So why the hell would I trust you?
You treat people like you want to be treated. Oh, you dirt-faced me! Oh, shit in my sneaker! Really hit the target there. How's it look? Good? I called in a favor.
We are the biggest lottery protection agency in the city.
I do trust you. I think it's because you look like a bulldog that like a witch cast a spell on and turn into a human. You ever get that?
Yes.
We're in trouble, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Who wants some head?
Why are you winking at me like that? Man, you can't just steal people's panic rooms, dude. What are you, Jodie Foster?
You know too much.
I really don't, though. Katie's the biggest jackpot of all time. Just find her.
Cowabunga. Turtle power!
This is a prosthetics machine. If people can't recognize you, you're a lot safer.
Hey, girl, hey. What? Too sexy?